My mother didn't just betray me. She tried to delete me from the world with one signature. She called it a misunderstanding, like canceling my life insurance behind my back was some tiny clerical oops. She even smiled walking into court today, that tight, fake smile she uses when she thinks she outsmarted everyone. But she doesn't know what's about to happen. Because in exactly 3 minutes, the judge is going to press a button, and the entire courtroom will watch the screen light up with her forged forms, midnight phone calls, and every lie she thought she buried. She thinks she's safe. Freezer. She thinks she's untouchable. She thinks she can rewrite my life and walk out clean. She has no idea her $250,000 plan is about to explode in her face. She always treated me like a backup plan, not a child. Like I was something she could pick up or put down depending on her mood. Her voice had this sharpness to it, the kind that slices before you even realize you're hurt. Whenever I achieved anything, she found a way to poison it. If I got a promotion, she'd shrug and say, "Don't get cocky. Life hits harder." One sentence, perfectly timed, designed to shrink me back down. The small humiliations weren't accidents. She forgot my birthday 3 years in a row. Blindness, but never once forgot the exact date a bill was due, especially if I owed her. She'd show up without warning, the kind of knock that made my stomach drop. Then she'd scan my apartment like an inspector. Dusty shelves, cheap groceries. You live like this? Every visit felt like an audit of my existence. When I told her I got life insurance through work, she laughed. An ugly, dismissive laugh. Who even needs that? You think you're important? But then she got strangely curious. Too many questions, too fast. A moment that didn't make sense until much, much later. Money was always where she drew her battle lines. If she couldn't control it, she'd sabotage it. If she couldn't take it, she'd guilt it out of me. She mastered the guilt trip early. After all I've done for you. Breached. Every time she wanted something, she'd dress it up as motherly concern. Every time I hesitated, she'd act like I was betraying her. To the outside world, she was the picture of a devoted mother. She'd brag about my success, about how she raised me right. But privately, I was disappointed she never stopped rewriting in her head. That two-faced affection, warm in public, venom in private. It messes with you more than open cruelty ever could. As I got older, the imbalance grew heavier. Laminate about they were lines drawn in pencil. Invade my privacy. Confiscated on my weight. Make decisions for me, then act shocked when I push back. And if I reacted? She'd tilt her head and whisper, "You're overreacting again." But the moment things truly shifted was that last Thanksgiving before everything exploded. She stared at me across the table, her fork paused in midair. Then she said, calm as a threat, "Crimson, if you don't protect family, family won't protect you." It wasn't advice, it was a warning, and she wanted me to hear it. Blackmail, I knew she was capable of crossing lines, but I had no idea she'd already crossed the one that would drag both of us into a courtroom and cost her $250,000. I had no idea she was already planning something far worse than cruelty, something written in ink and designed to erase me. The letter showed up on a Wednesday. Plain envelope, no warning. But the second I saw the return address, something inside me tightened. It was from my insurance provider. Not unusual, but the name on the front made my chest seize. Allergies Holder's mother. That shouldn't exist. They don't send anything to anyone except the insured. I opened it with this cold, creeping dread, and the first line hit me like a blunt object. Quadrip policy cancellation received. For a second, the room tilted. Blankets dropped hard and fast. My heartbeat felt too loud, like it was trying to punch out of my ribs. I scanned the page again, hoping I had misread something. FedEx. Nope, it was real. Someone tried to cancel my life insurance, and they weren't subtle about it. My hands shook as I reached the bottom. Thumbs, there it was. The signature. Not mine, but close. Close enough that someone must have practiced. close enough that the imitation almost felt personal. I grabbed my laptop and logged into my account. Quitting, I couldn't. FedEx recently changed. Don't those words felt like a blade slipping between my ribs. This wasn't a mistake. This wasn't a glitch. This was someone moving behind my back with precision. The betrayal hit me then, sharp, physical, undeniable. My own mother didn't just cross the line, kissing on it with both feet. I didn't want to believe it, but no one else had the audacity, the entitlement, the obsession with control to even attempt something like this. I called her immediately. My voice was shaking. Hers was calm. Too calm. "Mom, did you try to cancel my life insurance?" A beat of silence, then a soft, fake, confused laugh. "What policy? I don't know what you mean." But her voice cracked on the last word. Barely, but it cracked, and I heard everything inside that tiny break. Assaulting. My mind raced. Why? What could she possibly gain from canceling something that had nothing to do with her? And then the realization hit with a sickening clarity. The person who raised me was willing to let me die on paper if it meant protecting herself financially. Canceling my policy meant she could quietly remove me from the financial responsibilities tied to her job benefits. And worse, it meant wiping away the evidence of loans she'd taken out in my name years earlier. Loans she never wanted me to discover. Loans she hoped would vanish if I did. She wasn't confused. She wasn't mistaken. She wasn't concerned. She was cleaning up her mess by erasing me. I stared at the cancellation letter, at the forged signature, at the locked account. All the pieces lined up like a jaw snapping shut. She'd rather erase me legally, flooded, than admit what she'd been doing behind my back. My life, my identity, my future, all reduced to paperwork she could manipulate. And something inside me, something quiet and patient and exhausted, finally broke open. Because that day, something finally snapped. The morning after the letter arrived, I called the insurance company and demanded my account access back. The rep put me on hold for a moment, then emailed me the password change request they'd received. I opened the attachment. My throat tightened. The IP address? My childhood home. Of all places, the house she still lived in. Admiration. There was a screenshot included, the exact timestamp. Jumhurbash, 2:14 a.m. Of course it was. My mother always prowled the house at night, pacing, cleaning, plotting. She used darkness as cover, even for digital crimes. My inbox pinged again. Another document. Crimson equity logs. They showed a new contact added to my account. Not my email, hers. Bold as daylight. I didn't breathe for a second. I just stared. Printed the timestamps, laid them out on the table. Every action felt too neat, too synchronized, like someone rehearsed the crime before executing it. Something felt off, too coordinated. I switched focus to my bank portal. And there it was. The monthly insurance charge had been removed from autopay the very same day the cancellation request was filed. Another page loaded, a scanned withdrawal slip. Brushed the handwriting jumped out at me. Thumbs, letters, freezes, yeah, treasure. A flourish on the Y that looked exactly like hers, suspiciously familiar. Minimize in my ears, flushed headed in old texts, trying to understand how far back this went. Scrolled months, years. Then I found it, a message from her weeks earlier. Sentenced about you, I'd be the one dealing with the mess. At the time it felt weird. Northwest, it felt sinister. The more I read, the more patterns I saw. Hints, negligence, freshman questions. All of it framed like she cared. Bankruptcy with intent. I dug deeper, checking my voicemails. I hadn't listened to some in ages. One stood out, her pretending to accidentally previgment. It is no math, but it never be in that. One stood out has been a butte for crime. I hadn't listened to someone pretending to difficult with me. I dug deeper, checking my voicemails. I'd pretending to them just felt new contact that I mested competitively intent. One stood out, her pretending to the moment for different. The message of Enchers had make the time left instead between the most record mise well and weighed lest. I duft felt that she had moved me. The tone was sugar sweet, the same tone she used when she was lying through her teeth. Then came the slip-up. The insurance rep forwarded me a PDF labeled Customer Submitted Cancellation Form. I opened it, knowing exactly what I'd find. Flashlight sunscreen out of me anyway. The signature curve was wrong. Too smooth. Too rounded. The kind of curve you get when someone traces instead of signing. I took the form to a friend who works at a bank. She looked at it for 5 seconds before grabbing a pen. She circled tiny hesitation marks along the line. "Someone traced this," she said quietly. No doubt. No wiggle room. Just truth. Later that afternoon, the insurance company sent one more file, a recording of the phone verification request. I hit play. The caller said my full name, my birthday, my policy number. She even tried mimicking my tone. But then, in the background, announced. Her stove alarm, the one that went off every night at 6 because she refused to fix it. I felt something inside me go completely still. Before I could process it, my phone buzzed again. A relative had sent me a screenshot from our family group chat, a message my mother wrote just days before. Finally fixing his emoji. She never expected that screenshot to reach me. That wasn't about me. This wasn't even about insurance. This was about decades of financial manipulation catching up to her, and her scrambling to bury the evidence. Because the truth finally snapped into place. She needed the cancellation to hide a loan she'd taken out using my identity years ago. A loan she thought she could erase by erasing the person tied to it. Firmware was complete. IP addresses, Trimson timestamps, recordings, handwriting, alternating, blindness, eggs, every breadcrumb points directly to her. And the court? The court would tear it open like a wound. She thought she would never see daylight. The bank called me first. They didn't sound unsure. They sounded alarmed. My signature wasn't just suspicious, it was officially confirmed as forged. Before I could even breathe, another email hit my inbox. A debt collector's message addressed to me, but the writing style was hers, overly polite, overly dramatic. She had pretended to be me months earlier. Then I saw the missed call notification on my phone from the insurance company. They left a voicemail. "Someone attempted to verify your identity again, from a burner number. A number not registered to either of us." She was doubling down. Insurance clerk emailed me privately. She recognized the caller's voice from earlier interactions. She even wrote it in the internal log. Caller sounds identical to policyholder's mother. Her own voice betrayed her. The final twist came from a compliance officer. They forwarded a scanned form titled Identity Correction Request. It was filled out clumsily. Wrong dates, wrong handwriting, wrong everything. She had tried impersonating me on paper. Again. 3 twists tightened the noose she built for herself, and she still didn't know how much evidence was already waiting for her in court. The judge walked in with the kind of presence that stopped every sound in the room. Sharp eyes, no patience, no smile. The type who didn't just hear lies, she hunted them. My mother stiffened the second the judge sat down. She kept her gaze locked on the table, pretending to read a document that wasn't there. Her knuckles were white around her purse strap, like she was holding on for balance in a storm she created. I could feel the tension hanging heavy between us. Kang, not grief, not guilt, fear. Hers. "We'll begin," the judge said, her voice cold enough to freeze the air mid-breath. And just like that, every lie my mother told started counting down to its end. Canceled asked the simplest question in the coldest way. "Did you request your son's policy cancellation?" She shook her head too quickly. A low murmur traveled through the courtroom like an electric current. The screen behind the counsel lit up with the first slide. An IP address, plain black text on white. Her jaw tightened. Whispers rose and fell like a tide. The second screen flipped, the cancellation form with the signature. Everyone leaned in. The signature looked almost right, and that was the worst part. Freshman, the judge leaned forward, eyes narrowing. This curve doesn't match the Y. Audic audio played next, a clipped voice saying my name, calm and practiced. In the background, a sharp beep sliced through the room, that kitchen alarm everyone at family gatherings hated. She stuttered, voice thin. "That's not my kitchen." It landed like a bad note. The judge raised an eyebrow and didn't let the note hang. Quadrate's not a patient woman with excuses. The next exhibit appeared, bank logs in neat columns. Dates, times, transfers, tiny red flags circled by my lawyer. A scanned withdrawal slip was projected. Wireless sat beside my forged name like proof in ink. "Explain this," my lawyer said. Her voice was precise, calm, dangerous. First wave with a soft excuse. "Stress," she offered. "A misunderstanding." Those words fell flat in the room. People leaned forward, smelling blood. The judge cut through the static with a blade. "We have handwriting analysis confirming forgery." Color drained from her face. You can see it happen, frame by frame. My lawyer ran through the timestamps like a surgeon. 2:14 a.m., IP hit. 2:15 a.m., password change. 2:16 a.m., cancellation submitted. Taxed itself into a noose. Each second, a new link in the chain. Then the relative screenshot popped up, a family chat message. She'd written, "Finally fixed his financial mess. Took forever." Smug emoji included. The judge read it aloud slowly. "Fixing his financial mess?" The courtroom inhaled and held it. She tried to cry. The sound came out fragile, rehearsed. No one moved. Next, the debt collector's email. Clang, performative note written as if from me. The tone betrayed her. Pornography played the voicemail where she imitated me. She had practiced cadence, mimicry, the little pauses I make when I'm nervous. "Do you deny this is your voice?" my lawyer asked, and the question hung there, raw. Silence answered him first, thick, heavy, telling. The clerk who handled verification steps was called to testify. She said she'd logged the call and wrote in her notes, "Caller sounds identical to mother." Paperwork from the insurance compliance team appeared next. A scanned identity correction request, poorly filled, dates wrong, the pen pressure uneven. The judge tapped the form like it was a confession. "You attempted to impersonate your daughter on official documents," she stated plainly. My mother's attempts at defense started to crumble into fragments. Words fell out that weren't coherent excuses anymore. The prosecutor, no, my lawyer, methodically marched through each item. IP, timestamps, signatures, bank records, family messages, voice matches. Each exhibit landed like a small hammer blow. Her defenses sagged under the cumulative force. Then the final blow arrived in the shape of burner phone records. Numbers traced back to towers near her house. Logs matched the times of the calls. The pattern was undeniable. It all pointed to the same 2-hour window of midnight work. Her voice faltered and broke like thin glass. "I didn't mean... I was trying to protect," she sputtered. The judge cut her off with a quiet, iron command. "Enough," she said, and the single word shut down every stray plea. They presented the handwriting expert's notes. He'd circled inconsistent pressure marks, tiny hesitation dots, the telltale sign of tracing. My mother's face went completely still. You could read the collapse in slow motion. My lawyer didn't shout. She didn't need to. Shameful, she let the evidence do the demolition. One by one, her lies were picked up and examined. Each lie, when held to the light, revealed a seam. The courtroom reacted like a living thing. Gasp here, averted eyes there. phones discreetly raised to whisper updates. Pancakes in the gallery leaned away. Trash supporters shifted uncomfortably in their seats. Cancel, you could feel the room rebalancing itself. Truths on one side, excuses on the other. She tried to weave a last narrative about love and fear. Cancel, my daughter would understand, she said. It sounded like an arsonist explaining why the house needed burning. My lawyer answered with a single hard fact. Chose paperwork over a person. The judge's patience evaporated into cold clarity. This is not confusion. This is intentional deception, she declared. Her voice shook on the stand now, not with performance but with collapse. She had no more scripts left to read. Witnesses were recalled to confirm minutiae. The clerk verified logs. The bank confirmed the withdrawal sequence. A neighbor testified about seeing her up at odd hours. Freshman corroboration tightened the rope. Every factual nod pushed the story toward its inevitable close. The evidence had become a chorus, unanimous and blunt. There was no room left for plausible deniability. My mother sat frozen as the pieces of her plan were laid bare. Her entire defense looked like a house of cards swept by one definitive hand. I didn't need to speak. My throat was raw from holding everything inside. The evidence spoke louder than any plea I could make. They finished the presentation, and the courtroom hummed with the finality of it. Files closed, screens dimmed. The judge's eyes met mine long enough to say the rest. She had built a lie out of family and ink, and it had been dismantled in front of everyone she trusted. That demolition left her small in a way that cruelty never had, exposed and ordinary. When the gavel fell lightly, it sounded less like judgment and more like a conclusion. The story had been told, and the truth had won the room. The judge looked straight at my mother, no softness left in her voice. Mrs. Book, this wasn't an error. It was fraud. My mother's breath caught, but the judge didn't pause. You will repay all damages, $250,000. Silence crashed through the room. Gravitational confirmation. The judge lifted her gavel. Court is adjourned. And just like that, her entire scheme collapsed under one final strike. She didn't look at me when we walked out of the courtroom. Not once. Kidneys. She just kept her head down, gripping the stack of court papers like they were slipping out of her hands. The same papers that ended her entire scheme. For the first time in my life, I didn't feel scared of her reaction. Didn't feel guilty. Didn't feel responsible for her chaos. I just felt done. Completely, quietly done. Years of manipulation had trained me to doubt my own instincts, clang my memory, to apologize for things I never did. But the truth stood taller today than every excuse she ever forced on me. She walked ahead quickly, almost running, like escape would rewrite what happened inside that courtroom. But she couldn't outrun the evidence. She couldn't outrun the verdict. She couldn't outrun herself. I stepped outside feeling lighter than I expected, not because she lost, but because I finally took back everything she tried to steal in the dark. My identity, my insurance, my name, my life. She tried to erase me on paper. Instead, the court erased her lie permanently. Turbulence doesn't whisper. It arrives and ends the story. If this story hit you, subscribe for more courtroom justice.